All right, so we here. We are live. Constant Approach live streams October 19th. JV wins, Dogon SS. We are here for another week of stories that we want to touch on. And we got a couple of doozies this week, so it should be pretty interesting. Without further ado, we're going to jump right into it. We hope everybody is having a good evening. Thank you to anybody who might be tuning in to this video. Also, thanks to anybody who might be tuning into the video once it's finished processed and, is on YouTube, no longer live anymore. Thanks for, participating with the stream and participating and supporting the channel. We certainly appreciate it. We're going to start off this week's live stream with a guy who I affectionately call my good buddy Kyrie Irving. I think the first time we did a stream, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was the first one that we did, we talked about Kyrie, because I talked then about how, I was just sort of providing my 2 cents on how I felt about his decision to not partake in team activities over the vaccine. And, back then, people pretty much speculated that the reason why he was not with the team was because he was an anti-vaxxer, right? So, given Kyrie's past history and his sort of erratic behavior, talking about how the earth is flat, but then coming back and saying, I never actually believed the earth was flat. I was just saying that to stimulate conversation. Just things that don't really make sense that he's done. This is consistent. I'm not making any of this up. This is what this guy does because he thinks, again, that he's smarter than everybody else. He made, everybody pretty much assumed that he was doing this because he's an anti-vaxxer. Then, he actually finally spoke publicly. He did an IG Live last week in which he said, I'm not against the vaccine, but on principle, I don't want to comply with these mandates because I was under the impression that I would not have to get a vaccine. And so now that it is being basically forced upon me to get a vaccine, on principle, I don't want to get the vaccine because I want to, and I quote, this is coming from him. He says, I want to be a voice to the voiceless. I want to be a voice to the voiceless. And I feel as though, I feel some type of way about the fact that these mandates have come down when I believe that you'd stick to your word and that I wouldn't have to get the vaccine. But now you're telling me I do. So now I don't want to show up. So now it doesn't look like he's an anti-vaxxer, but it does look like he is a petulant child. Who is refusing to do his homework because you didn't give him a popsicle before dinner. It kind of looks that way on Kyrie Irving's part. Now, I don't really know what he means by a voice to the voiceless, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and assume that by being a voice to the voiceless, what he means is I am sticking up for all the people who are downtrodden, who are disenfranchised, who have been quote unquote oppressed. I want to be a voice box for that masses and speak for those people because I'm here to help. I am a shepherd for the weak and I want to be helpful. I'm assuming that that's what he means by a voice to the voiceless. Now, I have two fundamental, first of all, let's get this out of the way very quickly. For you to not be against the vaccine, and this is not a question about whether you should or should not be vaccinated. That's a separate issue. I don't want to get into whether you should or should not be vaccinated. But he is an NBA player who makes more than $475,000 per game. He makes more for playing one game of basketball than most people will make in an entire lifetime. That is how wealthy he has become for basketball. And so to refuse to be a part of something that you helped to orchestrate with the Brooklyn Nets because you are on principle just against doing something that you were told you wouldn't have to do, but it doesn't have to do with you actually inherently being an anti-vaxxer, that to me sounds foolish. Like if you're not really against the vaccine, you're not proving any particular point on principle by not getting it because you were initially told you wouldn't have to and still be able to play. So I think that that approach is ridiculous. But even beyond that, let's get into the meat of him being a voice for the voiceless. I made a video about Kyrie a while back when he was trying to tell guys that they shouldn't go into the NBA bubble because the NBA and basketball is a distraction from larger societal issues. At the time that the NBA was orchestrating this whole bubble thing, there was a lot of civil unrest in the country. There were protests going on in pretty much every major city after what happened with the George Floyd tragedy. And so, Kyrie Irving being impacted by that emotionally, felt as though the NBA should just suspend indefinitely, which is a crazy notion, in my opinion. But he felt like the league should be suspended indefinitely and that guys shouldn't go into the bubble. Now, mind you, it was, conveniently, he was also injured at the time and unable to play. So it was like, okay, bro, you're telling guys not to go into the bubble and compete for a championship. You can't even play and your team isn't even in the postseason. But be that as it may, when he was doing this, I made a video suggesting that, in my opinion, it didn't make sense for you to essentially forfeit the biggest platform that you have available to you as an NBA player. Like, right or wrong, fair or unfair, Kyrie Irving as a professional NBA player and a top-tier professional NBA player at that is not going to have a greater opportunity to have ears on him and to have people listening to him than when he is before an NBA stage. That is when you get the most people possible paying attention to whatever it is that you have to say. So if you're not playing games and if you're not participating in NBA media availability, whether it's before the game or after the game, if you're not getting interviewed on SportsCenter, if you don't got Stephen A. Smith interviewing you during First Take, if you're forfeiting your opportunity to take advantage of your NBA platform, you are in effect minimizing the opportunity for your voice to be as amplified as possible because you're not playing. And as a professional NBA player, if you're not operating within the context of your sport, you have less people who are going to be willing to listen to what you have to say. It will be no different than, somebody like, let's say Denzel Washington decided that he was going to retire from acting, but he still wanted to command as big a platform as he would command were he still actively involved in the entertainment industry. You still might afford yourself a certain platform, but it isn't going to be as large as it is while you're still Denzel Washington, the active performer, in my opinion. People who are intimately involved or people who follow the entertainment industry closely, sure, those people are going to, and people who are fans of yours, sure, those people are going to follow you regardless, no matter what the situation is. But when we're talking about the general masses, America is now a country of 400 million people. The vast majority of the masses you stand the greatest chance of having the majority of those people listening to you when you are participating within the platform that got you the notoriety in the first place. And so I thought it kind of seems silly to not be an active player, but then say that your platform is a place for you to be able to do service for those who can't do service for themselves. I thought that it was a strategic mistake to forfeit that platform, but still try to be a voice for the voiceless. So that's the one angle. And I feel like he's doing it again right now. He wants to be a voice for the voiceless, but he's not with the team. He's not playing. He's not around. And so what people do you expect to pay attention to? You're going to go on Instagram every day and talk to all of your followers? That's not the entire country. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't have access to the hundreds upon hundreds of millions of people who watch SportsCenter every night, or who watch NBA on TNT, or who watch Inside the NBA on a Thursday night. Those people aren't going to hear what you have to say because you're not playing. And so I'm not trying to say that you should just sort of dig in and give yourself to the NBA and I'm not a shut up and dribble guy. I'm not. I believe in these guys speaking up. But if you want to give your message the most reach possible, then it behooves you to be an active player, because that's when the majority of the eyes are paying attention to you. And then beyond that, this idea of being a voice for the voiceless and not getting the vaccine. And this is where things get dangerous for me when it comes to the way that we give so much credence and credibility to what these entertainers and these athletes have to say. This speaks to my discomfort with this current dynamic. Like, okay, so Kyrie is a voice for the voiceless. The voiceless whom he speaks of, the vast majority of these people, they have to, if their job says, hey man, you're going to have to get the vaccine or you can't come to work here. The vast majority, 98% of those people don't have 40, 50, 60 million dollars in the bank to where they can say, okay, fine, I'm just not going to show up. I'll be good. These voiceless people to whom Kyrie is sticking up for, they have to get that shot so that they can continue to earn a livelihood for themselves and feed their kids and provide for their family, right? So they don't have the flexibility to forego a vaccination if one is mandated as such. So you're setting an example for people who can't lead by what you're doing. They don't have that capability. I don't. If my job tomorrow were to send out a mass email saying, hey, everybody has to get the vaccine or we're going to have to terminate you, I'm going to have to do that because I need my job. I need that paycheck. And this is coming from somebody who ultimately down the road in the future sees himself as a guy who won't be beholden to a check writer anymore. I'm trying to build something for myself so that I can work for myself and establish a business, establish viable revenue streams so that I don't have to be beholden to a check writer. But while I am still, if my employer says, I'm not going to cut you this check on the 15th and the last day of every month because the success and the viability of my business depends on my staff being vaccinated, so we're going to have to do what we have to do, I'm going to have to make the decision to go ahead and get vaccinated. Because if I go out here on the job market unemployed, I can't rely on being able to step back on my feet and get a new job in 1-2 weeks. The bills don't stop. Rent still due, lights, all of these bills that I pay, they're still due. And they don't give a damn whether I am sticking to my principles on not being vaccinated or not. I don't have 50, $60 million to be able to say, okay, you can take this job and shove it. I think Kyrie owes it to himself to keep these things in mind when he says the things that he says publicly. And I'm only taking him at his word because these are the comments that he has made, that he wants to be a voice to the voiceless and that he is not inherently an anti-vaxxer, but that he, on principle, is not getting the vaccine because he was told that he initially would be able to play without having to do so. And so how that washes with you being a voice to the voiceless, to me, doesn't make sense because the voiceless can't do what you can do. And so those are just my general thoughts. I like to kind of take a breath off of the Kyrie Irving thing, but he always seems to open his mouth and say things that compel me to speak on it because there are so many inconsistencies with his comments juxtaposed to the reality of the situation that it is important to speak on that because if people try to follow in those footsteps, it can lead them down a perilous road that Kyrie would never have to drive down because he simply doesn't have to, because he is, quite frankly, so wealthy that he'll never have to actually deal with those types of consequences.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. That was well wrapped up, bro. Because I did have some questions as far as your thoughts on him saying that he's the voice for the voiceless. I mean that is an angle that he's getting at. Because my thing is with Kyrie is, I told you before, I find him entertaining,
Right.
and so I look at him as a person who represent a certain energy um, in society right now, where people feel like how Kyrie feels. Who entertains conspiracy theories, who talks about them out loud because everybody's always putting a microphone in his face. So when he says what's on his mind, which he's often always, he never said anything egregious to me. He's just a man who has his own opinions about things. And so when he says the stuff that he says about anything, uh, a lot of it I find humorous, because of how it ruffles feathers. It because to me it's just him. I don't think he's necessarily being a troll on purpose. I think he's just really just being him, and he grew up in a generation where conspiracy theories were readily online, and he grew up watching conspiracy theories. He's a conspiracy theorist, quote unquote, himself. And I'm using the conspiracy theorist word in jest, right? In
Yeah.
air quotes, but
Mhm.
I'm getting that. And
Yeah.
so the guy, he grew up in that space, and people grew up in that. I grew up in that space. So the stuff that he says makes sense to me. Now, is he living in reality when he says the stuff that he's saying often? Um, the reality that, like you said, the voiceless, as he calls it, right? Is he in touch with that reality when he says some of the stuff that he says? I'm not too sure, but I know that whenever he's saying these things, he's being authentic to whatever he thinks that is, and he thinks he is doing a service. I don't think he's intentionally trying to be hurtful or, have his ignorance be, a deadly weapon to other people. I think where he's more or less getting at, he's always a thought provoker. He makes people think, and he creates dialogue about, whatever topics that's going on. And so him being a person who questions things, I think that's more or less his angle. He's just a person who questions things, doesn't necessarily, go right along with things. He said, well, why should I have to, that kind of stuff. And
Mhm.
so he's a walking embodiment of that kind of energy. And so, of course, he has to play, and then he has to play the legal sponsorship. I don't want to be an anti. I'm not an anti-vax. He is, but he can't say that he is
Yeah.
because then he
Yeah.
loses sponsorships.
Yeah.
So he has to legally say stuff that's weird and contradictory, but because he can't keep it all the way authentic. Because if he did, he would lose sponsorship money. So he's in a weird space where they're always asking him questions. I can see why he dodges the media now, because every time he says something, it's taken and misconstrued. So his whole angle is, hey, I'll talk when I want to, and when I say something, I'm going to say what I want to say. And there's a lot of people that think like how I think, but y'all don't put microphones in their face, and that's what he's getting at. I think it's more of a less of a thing where he's not walking around with a staff and Jesus sandals. I think he's just saying that, hey man, you know, a lot of people don't, you know, there's a lot of people that think like how I think, but they're not in the position that I'm in to say it, and then everybody's going to listen to it because I am a celebrity. So not everybody's in that position. So I am a voice for people that aren't, you know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
so I don't know, it's the extent of which that goes, like how you said, like, hey, everybody's not in your position to where, when the mandates come down, hey man, you gotta make some decisions, some life choices. And if you did feel some type of way, then you might have to do that. And I've heard stories before and people just, hey man, I had to do it. And I wasn't gonna do it until the job said I needed it, and they went and got it. And so, yeah, not everybody's in Kyrie's position to where they could afford to have, missed paychecks. You know, I mean, he's got so much money. Hopefully, he's putting it in the right places. But I mean, he's got movie money. He's got endorsements. He got all type of stuff. So he shouldn't have to be broke ever again in his life. So him missing out on a season ain't a big deal. Him retiring right now is not even a big deal, honestly, for him.
No,
So
it wouldn't be. He'd be fine.
yeah.
Um, yeah, he'd be good with all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I just, I don't have a problem, and I agree with you. I don't think that there is any malicious intent on his part when he says what he says.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe he believes what he says, and I do think that he is genuine, and I do think that he cares. And in his mind, he believes he's doing the right thing. So, as cliche as it may sound, I do believe that his heart is in the right place. Now, be that as it may, that doesn't mean that you can't say things that are not correct. So my only thing to him is, bro, like I'm a contrarian. So take it from a person who's a contrarian. There is being a contrarian, and then there's being a forced contrarian, where you go out of your way to have a different opinion just so that you can feel good about the fact that you have a different opinion. Um, Now, I'm not saying that he's doing that, but I'm also not saying he isn't. I don't know. I've met people like that before who, despite all of the facts and the evidence and the data, will just simply have a different opinion because they just like to be the guy who has a different opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an ego thing. It's an ego trip for people like that. They want to be the person on the left who thinks differently, even if they themselves know that that different thought isn't correct.
Mm-hmm.
I just caution people. This ain't even about Kyrie, really. This is about people who are susceptible to the things that people in Kyrie's position have to say. And it's like, listen, you can listen to people like that if you want to. That's fine, but please be an independent thinker and don't formulate your worldviews based upon everything that a person such as Kyrie Irving has to say. Because just because he's in that position and just because he claims to be a voice for you, it doesn't mean that the stuff he's saying is right. It doesn't. Like, no one is above board, and no one is a genius. So not everyone says something that's right all the time. And when it comes to stuff that he says, his contradictions and his hypocrisies, to me, strike a nerve. And it's reason to kind of take a step back and say, okay, how valid are the things that he is saying? Because if you're an anti-vaxxer, stand on your laurels and be an anti-vaxxer. But don't say, I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I don't want to get it because they told me I couldn't get it. Okay, well, what message does that send to people who aren't in position to make that kind of call the way that you can? They can't. So how are you really speaking for them? And I'm only calling that point to the carpet because you yourself said that you're speaking for these people. So, that's the only point that I want to make with him is, it ain't always, you might be a contrarian, but forced contrarian lends itself to disingenuousness. And that isn't always the best person to follow in the footsteps of, and again, this isn't about vaxing or not vaxing. Jonathan Isaac went to Florida State, plays for the Orlando Magic publicly, said, I am against it. I am an anti-vaxxer because of my religious beliefs. Okay, that's fine. Like, he stands on that. So he is an and he's not double backing and contradicting his status as an anti-vaxxer on those beliefs. So Kyrie, like, you're an anti-vaxxer, stand on your beliefs, but you're towing the line and you're just confusing a lot of people. But well, in my opinion, he's confusing a lot of people, myself included. But Kyrie has always been a guy who vexes me. So, but I just kind of wanted to, go talk about Kyrie again because he went on his IG live and I said what I had to say before, but then he said I'm not against the vaccine. So I was like, well, what the hell are you doing?
Bro, them checks, bro, you can't talk reckless. You can't say how you really feel.
Yeah, but he's gonna sacrifice the checks anyway. He's not on the team.
No, I'm at not endorsements, future, like that's all kinds of things. Once you go out there and you go out there on a limb and you start saying like you can theorize about the world being flat. You can theorize about other things, all right? But as soon as you start talking about vaccinations for whatever reason, people get so bent out of shape. Like on either side. Honestly, my whole thing is because I'm a real who cares guy. I'm always in the middle. Like I'm Sir Neutrality. I wear so many colors, but I'm gray as hell. Yeah. Right? I don't really give a shit about anything, and so I don't. And so this whole vaccine thing, where people are so up in arms on either side, and it's just like, okay, but what's the big deal though? Isn't this everybody's business? Oh well, it's you know it's my business that they're not getting vaccinated. Oh yeah, well, if you're vaccinated, well, why the hell do I need to get it? If you're protected already, why do I need it? And everybody's just going back and forth, and it's just like, okay, but this is doing exactly what it was intended to do, in my opinion, and it is to cause division amongst everyday people, sometimes within their own families.
Yeah.
And it does this whole thing where this dialogue where people are taking it way too personal, and it's like, hey, look, I get it, there's a pandemic out there, but and all this other good jive,
Right.
but at the same time, um let people have their opinions and let people live their lives.
Right.
And so but yeah, so with Kyrie and all this other stuff, man, again, I just I find him entertaining.
Yeah.
He's To me, he's man, he's just a good character. He's not like he is like Riley. I know Witchamajig was the Martin Luther King was the Malcolm X one. What was the other one on Boondocks? It was Riley and the other one. Riley was the wild one. But
Yeah.
Riley was entertaining to me.
Hang, I can't remember his name.
Yeah, everybody gonna crucify us for not saying it.
I
But
can't
that's
remember.
but Riley is the one I'm going to bring up anyway because he was the goofy,
Yeah, he
crazy.
was the wild one. Yeah, he was
He
the
was the
jit.
wild one. But
Yeah.
Kyrie, to me, I tune in for what he has to say because he's going to say something that's going to make me chuckle. And every time he says it or does something, and I'm just like, yeah. And then now, like, Brooklyn's playing now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brooklyn's out there playing now, and he ain't out there.
No, he ain't there. Yeah.
And it's
Stephen A. Smith says that and take this for what it's worth because it is Stephen A. But Stephen A. says that Kyrie is just one of those people who, Stephen A. is like, it's not even really that deep. Kyrie just don't want to come to work yet. And so once he's ready to show up, he'll get it. He'll get the shot and he'll be playing. He's chilling right now. He doesn't mind not coming to work. He don't mind not being there.
That's a finesse play too.
Yeah, that's what Stephen A. Smith was like. Look at what he did last year. Like the season started, and after 2 weeks, he told the team he needed time off for personal reasons and was gone for like a month and a half. It just wasn't there. He was a legit healthy scratch. Like he wasn't there. And then when people were like, well, Kyrie, what's up? Like, why aren't you playing? He was just like, respect me and respect my position. And as a man, I don't have to answer your question. So I was like, okay, well, you just don't want to be like, you just don't want to show up to work. Like, what does that even mean?
That is so perfect.
Yeah. He's just like, what is that? I just, that's anyway, that's what Stephen A. Smith was saying there. He just ain't ready to show up yet. He's good. He's an erratic person. That's what I think. And I think that, as much respect to his individuality that we may accord him, the reality, and I deal in the world of realism, not fantasy land, but the reality is other teams aren't going to want to deal with somebody who may or may not want to be there unless it's when he wants to be. So he's jeopardizing certain aspects of his career, not that he cares. I'm sure he doesn't. But the reality is, if I'm the owner of a team, I am going to be reticent to trade for him or sign him as a free agent because he could, decide he needs personal time off at any given moment and just not be there to play.
No, he's a sideshow.
Yeah, I'm looking at it from both sides. Like if I run a team, I'm not going to be so inclined to sign him. So,
and that's if there's anything that does get to me about all of these situations is that it do be so extra, and it be extra, and he's a circus. If I was running a team, and they say, "Hey, do you want Kyrie?" Well, what do you want for it? They ask for next to nothing. Just your next two second round picks.
Yeah.
You don't even want my first? No, just second round
picks. For real.
And then I'm like, do I want that on my team?
Yeah. Like I'm trying to win a championship.
Yeah, and honestly, when it comes to distractions and stuff like that, like it's a built-in distraction. And whatever he's doing, his own form of vigilante justice that he does, that he's out here doing, whatever. But
Vigilante
that's not going to be
justice.
on my watch. I don't want that in my locker room, personally. It's too much. I would if we're talking about stuff that's going on our team, it's nothing that's like so extra, and it's like, oh, where's the superstar? Took some mental health days off. Mental health?
Vigilante justice.
Yeah, boy, go out there and dribble. No, I'm joking. Might as well, but no, I can't. I can't deal with it. I wouldn't. I wouldn't want that on my
Yeah,
roster.
no, my whole thing is I just wouldn't like, I'm my bottom line, I'm trying to win games. Like, I respect your position, but I have to, look out for the best interests of this.
And
And
this,
that involves you. I can't have someone who's so essential to the success and the outcome of my roster just not being around to play. So,
mhm.
but we'll go ahead and move on. Next up, we got your boy. Uh, now,
Oh man.
Kanye is cut from the Kyrie Irving cloth, in my opinion. Um,
Yes.
he's cut from the Kyrie Irving cloth in that he thinks he is the smartest person in every room that he is in. And if you don't like what he has to say, or if you question it or have follow ups because you didn't initially get where he was coming from, he doesn't owe you an explanation or clarification. It just means that you're not smart enough to understand where he's coming from. So he is going to leave you be. You're a peon. You're too dim-witted to get where I'm coming from. Only the intellectually stimulated and those existing on the ivory tower at the highest floors imaginable can understand me. So Kyrie, Kanye is cut from that cloth very much like Kyrie. As a side note, not to continue to harp on Kyrie, but Kyrie has publicly called the media and the general public peons. He's used that word before. He has called me a peon. So if we don't understand you, it's because we're peons. Kyrie's used that word. He's called, that. So he's just said it. I'm not putting words in his mouth. That's a quote he said, peons. I imagine Kanye is similar. He thinks that he is surrounded. He is in a sea of peons. But he recently officially changed his name government wise to Ye. So that is his name in its entirety. No first name, no middle name, no last name. He is Ye. Now he's called himself Ye in his music for a very long period of time, so that's not a foreign notion to people who follow him. But he recently he talked about how he was going to change his name to Ye, and he did. He pulled the trigger. He now goes by strictly Ye. That's it. I guess I don't know whether the haircut is something that's supposed to go in conjunction with his, I guess statement of expression by changing his name, but nevertheless, he's making waves about both the name change and the fact that he cut into his head like that. And Kanye is another guy who's an endless bucket of content, so we don't mind talking about it here on the Conscious Approach live stream. So here you go. Yay. Yay is now a yay. So I guess I got to train my brain to not call him Kanye no more. But that's gonna take a while. I still call Metal World Peace Ron Artest. So
Yeah, I'm not
I'm the
saying.
wrong person to ask.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I'll still call him Kanye too because it's Kanye. But I get him in the aspect of uh, he does it yearly. You want to talk about staying relevant? This guy has been relevant since he's been out, and every year it's new shenanigans, and everybody's talking about it. Everybody's talking about it. So he's not even really, and he still makes music. It's for whatever it's worth. There's still a lot of people out there that enjoy his stuff, and so I gotta be honest. I haven't listened to the last five. What I can, I'm just randomly naming a number, but I don't listen to them anymore. All
Yeah.
right. And so I hear the reviews on it. I hear a track here or there type of stuff, but never bothered to listen to it because to me, it's so sideshowy. So yeah, like just like how you said with Kyrie. That's why I said because I find both of them equally hilarious.
Yeah.
So in this thing that's going on right now, Mr. Kanye's or Mr. Ye, excuse me, Mr. Ye, all right, he plays an awesome role of just I don't know if he's trolling too or if he's just really.
He really believes, he believes, he is forthright.
I think
Very,
he.
listen, man, I'm telling
Mm,
you straight up.
mm,
I don't think that there is any person on this, not that, for my money, there is no individual who is more personality wise compatible with Kyrie Irving to me than Kanye West. I think that they are on the same cerebral wavelength. I truly do. He
mm,
believes everything he says and does, just like Kyrie believes everything he says and does.
mm. Yeah, and so and the thing is with Kanye is he's in such a position now to where he knows he's a voice. He knows the only thing he has to do is just say or do something, and it will become a wave because I'm a guy who makes waves. He
Yeah,
came in on that energy of I make waves.
yeah.
I'm gonna do something that make everybody want to do something. And so what he has done, which is genius in itself, is corner markets, get into certain markets of stuff and just do something really stupid. And when he does something really stupid, like make like hobo clothes as a lining,
Quite literally, yeah.
when everybody was trying to do high fashion, high design, and all that stuff, here he comes with hobo gear, and it's like, what is this? You'll get it later. Then yeah, then when the whole the Yeezys, the shoes came out, the Adidas ones came out. At first, at least initially from what I was hearing, I know from my eyes, I looked at, I was like, what is this? Oh, these Kanye shoes. And it's like, this looks like some shit that he would make. You'll get it later. Everybody got it later. Eventually, when he says, just like when he made, what album was that? That was an album, the 808s
Yeah,
album.
yeah.
When he made that album, at the time, nobody would do anything like that. I mean, yes, Auto Tunes was out, but that was so out of there. And then later on, it just became what people do. He, in order to be labeled as a genius, you first have to create yourself in a platform that you are a genius, and then be in a position to do stuff that people will see your genius in it later. So what Kanye does is he does it across the board. So this haircut, he's basically saying, "Watch me create a wave." And because Drake had the damn heart part, now I'm seeing fools walk around with a heart part. It's like, what's wrong with you guys? Are we in middle school? You're a grown ass man. You weren't doing that your whole life. Now you're getting a heart part. What is that? So now there's gonna be people out here with the Yeezy fade. You kidding me? There's gonna be all right while wearing their Yeezys and their Hobo 2000 jackets. It's what's going on, and people are gonna follow it. And he's gonna create another wave, and people are gonna follow. It's just what he does.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I don't think that that's okay. I don't think that that's okay.
Why?
Um,
What's wrong with that? It's
like what?
hilarious.
Okay, so I thought that what made the human race so great was that people didn't want to conform to trends or societal norms, but instead embrace their individuality. Do you know what the tragic irony in all this is?
Mm.
When Kanye is doing that, he's embracing his individuality. But when people follow behind that, they're conforming.
Mhm.
So, you're conforming to somebody who is fundamentally an individualist. How does that make sense? To me, that doesn't make sense. Like, if you're going to follow behind somebody, and if you're going to follow the example of someone who is an individualist, then following that example would mean you embrace your individuality.
Mhm.
And you don't necessarily copy, so you don't get the Kanye part. I mean, the Drake haircut or the Kanye fade. Like, get your own, do your own thing. But the fact that there's, like, we live in a society today that is comprised of a legion of conformists, where it's magnified by the advent of the internet and social media, because today actual currency is no longer the only form of currency. Attention is not currency. People can now be paid in attention. You can literally pay somebody nowadays to do a job by not giving them actual money, but giving them 2,000 or 3,000 more followers on Instagram. Like, that is a form of payment now. I'll take the money personally, but I guess I'm old. But we now live in a society in which attention is currency. And so when you live in a society in which attention is currency, it further magnifies the advent of what I would call the, collective conformists. Like, it's just what I find so intriguing about a lot of this is, the environment of super conformity is being established by people who themselves aren't conformists.
Yeah.
And so I find tragic irony in that.
Mhm.
I really do. I honestly do. And just to kind of touch back on what we're saying about Kanye, again, there's so many parallels to me with Kyrie Irving. Like, Jay-Z said on Blueprint 2, he was talking about Nas in this particular instance. But Jay-Z said the line on Blueprint 2, because the nigga wear kufi, it don't mean that he bright. In other words, like, stop thinking that everything the guy says is right and smart and just because he is who he is. Like, sometimes he says and does things that are stupid. Like, you know what I'm saying? You have to take these messages at face value and stop giving it the unadulterated gospel just because of what he's done in the past or what his history is or who he is as a person. Like, I have a friend who swears by Kanye, loves him to death. Kanye West is his all-time favorite artist. He loves Kanye. He'll live and die by Kanye, right? Kanye is to this guy what Kobe Bryant is to me. If you come to me with any sort of anti-Kobe Bryant sentiment, we gonna go to war on that. I'm gonna challenge everything that you gotta say, right? But at least I'm reasonable. If you tell me Kobe was messing up, during that whole Shaq Kobe thing, I'm gonna be like, yeah, he was messing up. I'm not gonna cover it up and try to use some different kind of logic to sort of justify his behavior in the moment. I'm gonna say, yeah, he was messing up. And so I bring that up because I got this friend who loves Kanye so much. And whenever we get in these conversations about Kanye West, and I point to idiot things that he has said or done, or things that he has said that are worthy of criticism, his retort is almost always, but look at what he's done, and look at the legacy that he is leaving with fashion and music. And he's pointing to all of these ancillary things that have nothing to do with the topic at hand. I'm saying I don't care about none of that. Nobody is above reproach. I'm addressing what he is saying right here. Let's talk about that. Stop trying to gloss over the conversation that we're having by talking about how enamored you are with his trend-setting status as a fashion entrepreneur or what he's done in music. I give you all of that. You're not wrong with any of that stuff that you're saying. I'm addressing these comments. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about his God complex. I'm not trying to suggest that he's less of a musical genius because he's making these crazy statements. I'm saying that he is a musical genius who makes crazy statements. You know what I'm saying? So stop trying to
Uh,
separate the two and make it seem like because he is a musical genius.
mm-hmm.
And again, that statement in and of itself is up to your opinion. It's not a foregone conclusion or a fact. Stop talking about what he's done in fashion and music to try and justify dumb things that he is saying right now. You know what I'm saying? And this my friend, he does this when it comes to Kanye every time. And it's pointless having a conversation with him about Kanye because he can't see the forest from the trees. With him, but he's done so much in fashion and music, so he is not above criticism. And I'm saying no one is above criticism. He has said crazy things. At the very least, he has said controversial things that are worthy of discussion and can be critiqued. Stop acting like he can't say something that can't be criticized or critiqued. And so, things like this, they kind of strike a chord with me because it's like, okay, fine. I'm talking about the fact that his haircut looks insane. He's changing his name to Ye, and he says and does crazy things that is independent of his musical geniusness. You know what I'm saying? So let's not conflate two separate issues. Is sort of how I would kind of come at this particular issue. Because I give you all that. Yeah, fine. He makes waves. He's a trendsetter, blah, blah, blah. But he still does and says crazy things that are worthy of being critiqued. That's all. Nothing more, nothing less. It's no deeper than that. Anybody else who is deemed a genius but says something crazy, I'm going to be like, okay, let's talk about this because that was kind of left, bro. And that's pretty much all there is to it. But we worship these celebrities and these entertainers to the point where we are just willing to forgive their quirks and their idiosyncrasies. And he's a public figure. So like it or not, when he says things, it can be criticized. That is the price you pay. That is the price you pay for being a public figure. That when you make public statements, they are subject to criticism, period. And so when he says what he says, if it's crazy, I'm going to be like, that was crazy. I don't like using the word crazy, not crazy in the sense that he's lost his mind, but just crazy in the sense that you're going out of your way to say things that are so contrarian, very much like Kyrie. And I'm gonna call that stuff out, man. I'm gonna call it out because no one is above that, And I feel the same way about Kanye. And just as an aside, this is blasphemous to certain people because they worship at the altar of these entertainers and these people. I have not listened to an album either of Kanye's since 2009, I believe, is when My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy came out. That's the last time I listened to him. Everything that he has done since then has been, now again, it's just not my cup of tea. So I'm not gonna say it's trash. I'm just gonna say I didn't like it. You know what I'm saying? But everything to me that he has done since then musically has been experimentation. And it has been experimentation that I haven't cared for. I have not been a fan of his music since that album, but that is just me. So
here's what he's doing. So what Kanye is doing, and he's trying to be are labeled as a brilliant artistic genius of all time.
Yeah.
And so he's trying to, what he's doing when he's making these cryptic arts of work that he's calling albums now, they are off brand. They are doing, different things from the stuff that I've heard. And it's being different so that people from the future who pull from these sounds. Ye was the one that created it.
Yeah.
This to me also ties into how genius he is, honestly. Because other people don't have the foresight to do these things. He's doing this stuff on purpose. And if other people were smart and as genius as he is, at least, then they would also be doing the same in their own lane. But the stuff that he does, to me, it is because I don't see anybody else doing it. And to me, it's absolutely hilarious. So do I listen to it? No. It's honestly, it's like one of those things where, people didn't appreciate this guy's art until he died. And then once the person died, then that's when all of their art blew up and stuff. And it was just like, oh man, I didn't know this guy was making all this fire ass shit over here. And it's just like, oh, so now when Kanye passes and people start listening to these albums, and especially, oh yeah, in the future, and people are sampling stuff from the stuff that's, I mean, because people are sampling stuff from the '90s. That's so cringe. I can't stand it. It's too soon. I can't take it. But it's
Well,
gonna be people.
it's not too soon if you know was born in, you know, bro. It's people who are 21 years old now who are born in what 90. If you were born in what 2000, you're
Yeah,
21, bro.
yeah.
So yeah, it's too soon for us. It ain't too soon for everybody.
That's so
It's too
cringe.
soon for us because we were around when this stuff came out. But
But
yeah,
and
man, like
now I know what my dad was saying, like when songs was out, and he was like, "Man, what's that?" And I was like, "Man, this Biggie, Biggie. Who the hell's Biggie?" And then it's like, "Oh, that's number wow wow wow," whatever he said it is. And I'm like, "Man, this shit fire, bro. You sleep." But it's just like, nah, man, that stuff y'all listen to is garbage. All right, my Marvin Gaye was good. I don't know what the hell this trash is. And then so now I'm listening to these new people, man, and they're sampling our stuff.
mhm,
It's like, ew, stop, leave it alone. That stuff was
mhm,
good the way it was. Nah,
yeah,
there ain't nothing sacred out here, honestly.
yeah,
And
yeah.
ain't
I know.
nothing.
Bro. I think I listened to the latest, you know, that Khaled put out, the album that DJ Khaled put out, the last one.
Mm-hmm.
Every song on that album is a sample, every single one. And not only is every song on that album a sample, every song on that album is a recent sample,
Ew.
bro. Like one of the songs, it's got Migos and I forget the R&B artist. I think it's Her, you know, the singer Her. So it's
Mm-hmm.
got Migos and Her, and it's a sample of Shawty Lo, They Know. That's the song that they sample for that song. That song is what 2005 or 6 or whatever,
Yeah.
7, around that time period, 2007 or whatever. But
Yeah.
like the sample, the sampling in hip hop right now is they'll sample you. You could have made a song 4 years ago and it'll get sampled if they can figure out if they can figure out a way to flip it and make
I
it
mean,
sound good.
yeah, there's ways that people did it in the in the '90s where they sampled something and it was a rap song, or like in the early 2000s where people were sampling stuff that was fairly recent. But that was cool if it was just like, the hook part,
Yeah,
or or that they was chopping and screwing and it'll just be that part of like, oh, I didn't even know that was part of that song. That's
yeah,
fire. But they
right.
didn't base the whole song
The
off
whole beat,
the
yeah,
thing. And it's
bro.
like, what is this? So cringe.
Bro, I'm
Super
telling you,
cringe.
bro. Like, you look it up, bro. I think the name of the song is "Going Crazy" or "We Going Crazy." If you
Yeah.
listen to it, it's just the Shawty Low. It's Shawty Low. They know it's picked up, supplanted. They changed
Bro.
the tempo of it a little bit, so it sounds a little different. But you'll see what I mean if you hear it, bro. It's the same song. And like I hear you, like I know when we was like when we was listening to the music in the 90s and the 2000s and they were sampling songs from the funk era, from like the 60s and the 70s.
Yeah.
But the goalpost is getting moved so much so to the point where now if you want to sample, they're sampling stuff from 5-10 years ago.
Yeah.
But just to get back to the central topic about Kanye, I hear
Mhm.
what you're saying and I agree. I never understood why a person's art has to be appreciated after death. I never got that part. But nevertheless, I do concede that well after he has become relevant, if the music is still as viable as it is, and he has long since no longer been relevant, people will be doing stuff and he will be getting credit. Like he
Yep.
will be sort of seen as someone who created a lot of it or was
Yep.
the architect for it. I do agree
Yep.
with that.
Yep.
So next up, we have another revisitation.
Uh,
So one of our favorite people to talk about because she's just so, you know, she's a wealth of content. Brittany Renner. So Brittany Renner, we provided commentaries on Brittany Renner in the past. I've made many videos about her. She is most famously now known as the modern day Venus flytrap. She's the modern day personification of the Venus flytrap with her situation with NBA swingman for the Charlotte Hornets, PJ Washington. But she's dug in, man. She is dug in. She is proudly who she is, and she will make no compromises. And in a weird way, I admire her for that. Because as I've always said, I don't have a problem with people saying or doing, I don't have a problem with people saying or doing things that I disagree with. What I have a problem is ultimately with people who try to rationalize it by trying to suggest that it's not really that and that everybody's insane. Brittany Renner doesn't do that. Brittany Renner just says, look, this is who I am and I don't care what you think. So, right or wrong, fair or unfair, this is who she is. But she trended last week because she apparently was making an appearance at Jackson State University. And so she put this out on her social medias. She put it out on her Instagram and her Twitter. Hey, Jackson State, hide your sons. So, she's kind of dug in on being unapologetically who she is when it comes to how she operates with respect to her personal life, her dating life, and men and all of this kind of stuff, and how she handles relationships. But she just doesn't give a damn. And she is boldly saying, hide your sons. And there was another video that came out over the weekend of her busting it wide open in the club, which, we won't bother sharing that, but this is who she is. This is Brittany Renner. Now, there isn't too much meat on these bones. But what I did want to say is that I do believe that this is one of the modern aspects. I believe that this is one of the aspects of modern feminism that actually do make sense. And here's what I mean by that. So one of the original tenets of feminism is, and this is going back to feminism in its original inception, like in the 60s and 70s, right? So it was the idea that women, from a social standpoint, should be able to act and behave in the same way that men do and not be judged detrimentally for it, just the same way that men don't get judged detrimentally for it. So, fast forward to the modern day, for the longest time, when it comes to the music in particular, there are all of these double standards in society where men could, be, promiscuous, and men could date multiple women at the same time and sort of be glorified for it. But if women were seen exploring all their options, dating multiple men at the same time, slurring it up, it was seen as a scarlet letter. It's a badge of dishonor. It's not very ladylike of you to do these things, and it's not okay. You're supposed to be committed to only one guy, while the one guy that you're committed to is committed to several women. So, be that as it may, I don't agree with every aspect of modern feminism because I think most of it is hypocrisy. But I do think that today, what we are currently seeing is a shift in how we look at a lot of this stuff. And I think Brittany Renner is one of the examples of that shift, where now we are sort of okay, or rather more comfortable with the notion that women are just going to slow it up. Women are just going to slow it up. They're going to have multiple guys in rotation. And we already know when to do these things, right? I am a firm believer in the rule of 5. I believe that all women, especially attractive women, have 5 men that they talk, that they communicate with simultaneously. There's the guy that they have sex with. There's the guy that gives them attention. There's the guy that spends money on them. And then you have 2 guys who are on injured reserve, who can be promoted to the active roster the second that one of those first 3 guys does.
Active roster.
Yeah. So, obviously the guy who is in prime position is the guy who's actually getting the box. He's the starter. He's the one who's in the best position. He's in the enviable position. He's in the position that all men want to be in. And it's a countdown until when that guy gets fired because he did or said something that pissed her off. And once that guy gets fired, you move the other 2 guys on the roster spot up 1 position, and then you fill in the new vacant roster spot with a new guy. I believe that all women operate this way, even married women. I believe even married women do this now. Sorry if I let the cat out of the bag, ladies. You thought I wasn't on to you, but I am. But this is what all women do. She's one of them, so this comes as no surprise. But again, I think that if people have a problem with stuff like this, I think that you can just sort of accept that This is one aspect of feminism that has sort of leveled the playing field. Um, me as a single guy, I am a casual dater. So I don't feel as though it's in my place to judge women who are casual daters. Maybe I am in the minority of people who feel this way, but I try to be a reasonable man, or at least I try to be. Sometimes I'm not able to do it to the best of my ability, but I at least try to do so. But Brittany Renner, if men, now here's the thing about this, and this is the most important thing. I have said this before. Establish men create the market for this type of stuff. So Brittany Renner's ability to be able to move like this successfully is as such only because there are going to be plenty of men who are willing to take her up on her offer to be the next PJ Washington. So long as there are so many men who are willing to forgive everything that Brittany Renner says and does for a chance to get with her, I can't blame her for taking advantage of an inherent weakness in today's man from a character standpoint. So the lesson in this is if you don't want to be that son who needs to hide, you need to be the guy who's willing to say thanks, but no thanks, I'll pass on Brittany Renner.
Mm-hmm.
But so long as there are men who are unwilling or who are inept, who are incapable of saying thanks, but no thanks, I'll pass on Brittany Renner, I can't fault Brittany Renner for doing this. Have at it, Brittany Renner. Visit every college campus in this country talking about hide your sons because you get what you want at the end of the day. And right or wrong, fair or unfair, if you don't like the fact that she gets what she wants, you need to go to the gatekeepers. And the gatekeepers are the men. Stop giving it to her, and a lot of this is going to stop. So that was pretty much all I had to say about that one.
No, hey, fair enough. I agree with all of that. You know, we touched on this last time we brought her up,
Yeah.
and just she's a reflection of what a lot of modern women are doing right now, and that's why she's serving basically as the mascot right now. The streets chose her as the mascot. I didn't know they needed one, but here she comes, and she's just always in the news with the shits. And so yeah, and so with that headline, she knew what she was doing. Um, she knew what she was doing. She was like, "Oh yeah, I'm out here. I'm looking good today. Um, I'm gonna hit him with the caption." She was dying to use this bar. This is a bar. I told you, man. She last time, bro. She's treating this like she's a rapper. She's genuine out here being an entertainer, like strategic moves of yeah, this will get everybody riled up. And yeah, the attention whoring is next level with her. She loves every second of this, and so but she's honestly a reflection, like I said, of what modern women are aspiring to be. Um, just like how you said with the whole modern feminism and all this, like feminism and stuff like that, just trying to be sexually liberated and all that stuff. Like at this point, bro, it's so pervasive that they're liberal with their sex at this point. It's so pervasive right now that honestly, like people really have to restructure how they want to look at marriage if they want to get married.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like
That's facts.
you can't even go in this with the same traditional mindset. You're gonna get smoked. You're gonna get your absolute feelings just obliterated, bro. You don't stand a chance being a traditional man in this world right now. And so the way that things are going, like how you said, this rotation stuff that's going on, bro, it's happening. All right. Now, from each female, it may vary. All right. It might be five over here for this girl, it might be whatever for this, but they got something going on, and they all do. And so, yeah, it's just your turn type of deal. It's wild business out here. And it's really a thing now. I'm really starting to grasp in my older age. Okay, that
Oh,
knowing what women being a different species, like they're a different species, like they're just like a different creature, bro. And I really had to wrap my head around. Like I knew that there are opposites, but bro, there really are opposites in everything. And so the stuff that they're doing, it makes absolute sense in their world. And for us trying to make logical sense out of it,
yeah,
we're
you drive
thinking like
yourself
men.
crazy. Yeah,
Yeah, we're thinking like men.
yeah. Which is a
And
complete waste of time, and that's
it's
the
so
mistake that you make. You shouldn't do it.
no.
Yeah,
And you shouldn't do it.
yeah.
And so it's like, well, what is their world made out of? All right, because it's not the same world we're living in. And right now, they're living the world that they want to live. You know, the traveling, the teams of guys, um, for the ones that are just, um, you know, just being wild in their own way. And
Yeah.
it's just like, look, man. But then, as we all know, once they start getting up there in age, now they're like, oh man, I've been balling too hard out here, you know. And so now what's happening really, bro? It's really this is a pandemic. You want to talk about pandemics, bro? This shit is at epic proportions. Like honestly, bro, like what Renner's doing out here on the campus, like how you said, dudes are gonna bite.
Oh yeah.
Dudes are gonna bite. We just didn't get the memo, man. Like we know what modern woman is, but I don't think we understand how you want to talk about dangerous ideologies. And you talk about Kyrie talking about some wild stuff. This is a dangerous ideology, bro. This ideology that's going on right now, where just like, at least for her, she's out here trying to trap dudes. But I'm just talking about in general, man, with this independent sense of all of this stuff.
Hmm.
It's anti woman. It's you want to talk about irony as well. You want to talk about irony, feminism. Feminism in itself is anti woman. You're starting off being anti woman. How is feminism anti woman? When you look at the principles, it doesn't do anything for what women naturally are. It's anti woman.
They would argue that what you think they is natural, what they naturally is has been wrong the entire time. That's the point. Is that what anybody gleans to have been, to use your
No.
expression, whatever you might think is of as naturally woman, that whole thing is wrong.
And
Um,
but check me out. So then, because I grew up in a generation where feminism was a thing for a while, and then so I grew up believing those things. So I'm out here doing stuff that like, well, I'm not those chauvinistic men do. I'm a good man. I'm doing all this good man stuff. So as I'm out here doing all this good man stuff, they're like, "What are you doing? This lame. You know, where's the drama, huh? Where's the this? Where's the that, huh? What do you think?" And they wanted the wild dudes that didn't treat them with respect. They wanted the wild dudes that just treated them like sexual objects. At least that's who they was giving the vagina to all the time. Dudes are just treating them like sexual objects. Not the guy that cared. Just like how you said, if there was a roster, there's a guy who's always smashing. Then there's the guy who's giving attention. I was the attention guy. Yeah, I was the attention guy. And so once I realized I'm just the attention guy, I give vagina here and there, right? But I'm not getting it like how she was splacking it when we first was hanging out. I'm getting that.
yeah,
I'm just hang out guy to splack with. But she's
yeah.
busting it wide open for the guy that's just no good. And so what's going on here? What am I missing? That guy does nothing towards what feminism says. But he's being assertive all the time. He's leading them all the time. He's telling them what to do. They're listening. all this democracy stuff. Oh yeah, you will, and you sit there, you try to run a democracy in a house, you get in trouble,
Oh
man.
yeah, of course, yeah.
You get in trouble. And so the because nowadays everything's a dig. Why? Because I'm a girl. Why? Because I'm this. Whoa, what is your problem? No, I'm not going to do that. You're not going to do what normal humans do, like cook for themselves. What's your problem? Because I'm going to eat some of the food, it's a problem. Like I don't understand. What am I missing? And so yeah, man, it's wild. And so whenever she does something, she just it just embodies whatever's the wave right now. And she's just a reflection of the wave, man. Yeah, women been poaching on guys at games and stuff like that. But for her to make this like a thing and to be vlogging it all, it's, this is next level, man. Human history has not seen this.
No, it hasn't. But yeah, I've been saying for a long time that the very notion of interpersonal dynamics and relationships and marriage that is receiving that is receiving a complete facelift right before our very eyes. The meaning of what that used to be no longer exists, and it's a perilous prospect, which is why there are so many men nowadays who are apprehensive about doing it. You know, and I don't think it is any coincidence that nowadays people are getting married much older as well. I think on average now you got a lot of guys who aren't even getting married for the first time, if that's something that they want to do, until they're in their late 30s or maybe even early 40s, because it takes such a long time for you to position yourself in such a way to maximize your chances of not being screwed over, in lieu of the decision to get married, honestly. And you just never know. The thing that makes it so perilous is women nowadays are so emboldened to seek the best possible situation for themselves, which means that you can date, like the trust angle comes into it. You can date a girl for 2-3 years, and she can tell you that she loves you and all of this kind of stuff, but you can't. And this is the sad part about it. In 2021, you can no longer trust that even if a chick says she loves you, that she won't leave you to trade up if presented with the opportunity to do so. You can't trust it. I've seen it. Like, I've seen it happen. You can be in a relationship. I've known guys, they've been in relationships 2-3 years or whatever, and the girl just dumps them, leaves them, because she got with another guy whom she perceived to be an opportunity to trade up. This guy makes more money. This guy can afford her with a better, higher life, with a higher quality lifestyle. This guy, travels all over the world. They can travel. All of this stuff that, women care about stuff like that, especially because it gives them an opportunity to post on the Instagrams and stuff. Like, you never quite know. That is what the state of relationships is now. Is you can't trust that you won't find yourself in that situation. So the best thing that you as a man can do is to opt to not embrace that as a central part of your life until you have maximized or maxed out on your individual potential. So if the max of your individual potential is to be a six-figure guy, don't get into relationships and get married until you've maxed out on that potential. Wait until you're a six-figure guy, because until you've maxed out on your potential, you don't really know what is the right lane for you to be operating in dating wise. Because you can get with the thing about women, and this is the last thing that I'll say about this. Men and women are different. So a man's value with respect to his dating potential is different than a woman's value to her dating potential. A man's value to his dating potential still to this day is money, resources, and social skills. And social skills are third on that list. Money and resources are interchangeably 1 and 2, and then social skills is third. Because a guy can get any woman he wants if he has the right. I don't give a shit what anybody says. If a guy has the appropriate money and resources and he runs in the right circles, he can get any woman he wants, even if he is a social leper. And that will be true to the day we die. I don't give a damn what anybody says. Because you got a lot of people out here who like to talk about how it's not really about money or resources. And, you know, a guy who is average or makes average money can get whatever he wants. No, he can't. That's not true. That's BS. The reality is money and resources are interchangeable. Social skills are third. That is a man's value with respect to his dating potential. With a woman, her value with respect to her dating potential is, right or wrong, fair or unfair, her physical attractiveness, her looks. So the thing about that is a man cannot maximize on that potential on average until he's about 39, 40, 41. Most men don't reach the peak of what they can get resource and financially until they're in their late 30s, early 40s. Mm-hmm. If that. But a woman can peak on what she can provide value-wise when she's 18, 19. Mm-hmm. A woman can be 18, 19 years old and work out in the gym 3-4 days a week, maximize on her potential looks-wise and body-wise very early on. So what you have is this stark inverse of potential where a guy can't get what he would like to get or max out until he's in his late 30s, early 40s on average. Now, you do have the exceptions being pro athletes and entertainers. Those guys are young and they become millionaires early on, but that is the exception. That's not the norm. Those are outliers. The general population, most men, you're not going to cap out on your potential until you're 38, 39, 40, 43, 44, 45. But women, they can cap out at 19, 20 years old. I see it every day. I live by a college campus. These women so fine nowadays, they can get any guy that they want, and they ain't but 18, 19 years old. But they know how to play the game. Their value in the current sexual marketplace is just, they know how to finesse the current sexual marketplace to get what they want because they know what they need to maximize on. They know what they need to focus on. Brittany Renner is she's just a personification of this dynamic in play in real time. Mm-hmm. You know, so the thing about it is, if you're a guy or anybody who has issues with this being the reality, you know, the only way that you can do your part to curb some of this is to, and I can only speak from a man's standpoint because I am a man. I can't speak for anybody else. But as a man, if you have misgivings about this, or if you're like trying to understand, like, how do I fit into this? What can I do to get what I want and not compromise my preferences? You know, I don't want to give up, but I also feel like I'm fighting an uphill battle. If more men collectively stood on morals and principles and said, I am not going to capitulate to this dynamic by being a slave to vagina and giving a woman what she wants just by the mere sake of her existence and the fact that she looks good, a lot of this would stop. Honestly, it would. But there's two, you know, men aren't collectively, and you know, this is an unequal game. Until the victor goes the spoils. You pay the cost to be the boss. So if I'm a guy who makes $500,000 a year, you damn right I have access to women that a guy who makes $40,000 a year simply doesn't have access to. That's just the way the world works. That's the reality of that's the life. That's life. Mm-hmm. You know, Stephen A. Smith famously said, fair is a place where they judge pigs. It doesn't exist. Fairness isn't real. It's a fallacy. You get what you want. You get what you get in life based upon the work that you put in. And not everybody puts in the same amount of work. So if you want to get what it is that you seek, maximize and cap out. That's how you can fix. That's how you can get what you are looking for yourself. If you think that Brittany Renner looks good, now I would advise you stay away from a toxic personality like hers. But in the grand scheme of things, if you want to operate in a realm where you are, you know, sort of consorting within the company of women who are of her ilk, cap out on your potential. That's the only way you're going to make that happen. Otherwise, if we have all of these guys who are just sitting around not capping out on their potential, it's going to continue to create this multiverse where you have all of these women running roughshod over men, making posts like this, because they can get what they want, because there are only but so many men who can provide what it is that she's looking for, and every other guy just gets left out in the cold.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much, kind of how that one works out, man. But we went kind of long on that one, but this stuff has meat on it, man,
Mm-hmm.
and the more people who understand, I think the better off we'll be. I'll leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll move on from Brittany Renner, and we'll go to a viral story for the day. So I wanted to talk briefly about Lizzo. Lizzo is trending because she went on to her, I don't know if, I think it was her Instagram or her TikTok. She's mad. She's in her feelings because she wore a see-through dress to Cardi B's birthday party. And when I say a see-through dress, I'm not going to share that here because I don't want to get hit with, I don't want YouTube to flag my video for inappropriate content. So I'm not going to show you what Lizzo was wearing, but I'll leave a link to the description. I'll leave a link in the description box of this video. You can click on that link and see for yourself what she was dressed like. But Lizzo wore a see-through dress to Cardi B's birthday party. And people criticized it. People kind of said, hey man, ain't nobody trying to see all of that. People did what they usually do when Lizzo makes these statements that she makes. And on par with Lizzo, she got in her feelings. And she went to her Instagram or her TikTok, one of her channels, I don't know which one. And she talked about how people can kiss her whole bleep hole and don't worry about whatever the F it is she doing. Let her do whatever the F she want to do. And if you don't like what she's doing or how she's dressing, you can kiss her whole bleep hole. And my thing with Lizzo is, in the past, she has expressed her disappointment in people who have criticized her for the way that she likes to publicly carry herself, particularly the way that she dresses. And the problem that I've always had with the way that she handles these situations is she blanketly makes herself out to be a victim by categorizing everybody as body shamers. That's the problem that I have with this, is that she's going the body shaming route. And look, I've been on certain comment sections, whether it's on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, talking about Lizzo. I've seen the stuff that people say. Now you have some people who are obnoxious and they're just going out of their way to be nasty. But please believe me, those are the people who are in the minority. The majority of people are just saying, hey man, listen, that ain't for me. I'm not trying to see all that. But it is what it is. Go do what you do. Lizzo has this complex. And it's a complex that, Lizzo, she has been indoctrinated by this westernized concept that women can now say, do, and act however they feel and should not be critiqued in any kind of way. It should be accepted. Not only should it be accepted, but in Lizzo's case, if she is going to wear a see-through dress, men should want to see her in a see-through dress just as much as men want to see a woman who is in better shape and not overweight in a see-through dress. And my thing with that is, you're not living in the real world. You're living in a fantasy world that doesn't exist. The fact of the matter, Lizzo, is men have preferences, and you should not get upset. First of all, you put yourself in position by dressing like that, because even if you didn't have the body type that you had, women who dress that way court attention to themselves, and people are going to. Now, it might not be as many people who criticize someone who doesn't have your body type for dressing that way, but they're still going to have their naysayers for dressing like that in public. There'll just be different types of criticisms. They'll be called thoughts and holes and whatever other adjective you want to throw in there. But the fact is, even women who don't have your body type, Lizzo, are still going to get criticized for dressing that way. You're getting criticized for dressing that way because of your body type. Granted, but you need to accept the fact that this is the real world. And in the real world, people have preferences. And if a guy has a preference for not wanting to see a woman of your body type dressed that way, he is free to express himself without you calling him a body shamer. That is my opinion. If I say I'm not trying to see all of that, preference wise, that's not my cup of tea, that doesn't mean I'm body shaming you. It literally means that's not preference wise my cup of tea. I don't want to see it, period. It's no different than me saying I don't have a preference for a woman who's a smoker. That's just my preference. That doesn't mean that I think that you're inherently a bad person or that you suck because you are a smoker. It just means it's not my preference to. My preference is to not really, mess with chicks who are smokers. So we have to give respect to people's preferences. And I can't understand why we seem to skip over the middle ground of preferences and jump straight into this pool of body shaming. Like, for the most part, people don't be body shaming Lizzo. People be saying, I'm not trying to see. I don't think there's anything wrong with somebody saying, hey, man, it is what it is. Not really for me. I'm not trying to see all of that. That does not extend into the category, if you will, of complete and utter body shaming. And for her to play upon that and use it to court attention to herself for everybody else to come to her defense and categorically sort of demonize all people who are criticizing her, and in particular all men for being body shamers, in my opinion, is social irresponsibility. Because that is not really what's going on here. But you're making it that because we are living in this world now where I guess it should just be we can do whatever we want, say, act, and be whoever we want to be and not get critiqued. Getting critiqued isn't the same as somebody shaming you. And we need to understand the distinction because there is a distinction. And, quite frankly, me personally, I don't really have a preference for women of Lizzo's body type dressing that way. And I don't have a problem saying that because I don't think that means that I am demeriting Lizzo's existence. It just means that I don't have a preference for overweight women dressing that way. Probably because I don't have a preference for overweight women, period. But those are my personal preferences. So be that as it may, I just get annoyed with these labels, like Dave Chappelle. You make jokes about trans people in your bit, you're automatically transphobic or you're homophobic. You say that I don't really want to see Lizzo with all of her assets out all over the place in a see-through dress, then it means I'm body shaming. I don't think it means I'm body shaming. It means that I have preferences. There's a difference.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I agree with that. I think that I really don't know what Lizzo does. Was she a rapper?
She's apparently, I don't know. She's one of those, you can just call her an artist because she'll make songs where it's like singing and dancing going on. Not dancing, sorry. Singing and rapping. So I don't know if she fits into one bucket, but I would say that she's a hip hop artist. That's how I would define her.
All right, yeah, because I'm not too. I see her name and stuff, but I'm like, okay, whatever.
She is known more now for being someone who is a champion for she's a champion for, loving who you are, embracing who you are, F all the haters, F all the body shamers. Like, she's the poster child. She's known more now for being a poster child for calling out body shaming than she is for her actual music.
So living in denial, people.
Yes. Yes. In my opinion, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that is a wild mascot. It's wild to be the mascot of that. But that's what I'm saying. The streets be picking, bro. That's what's going on right now. And so what's going on is there's so many people that are in one vibration. They create the Lizzos. Like Lizzo just like my whole thing is like, why do people gravitate towards certain people's energies or whatever? And it's like, why is that? Why do people gravitate towards Brittany Renner, and it's like, bro, she's about it at this point. I know, but look at that ass. It's like, bro, you know, and
Yeah.
so she's, it's the trap for those type of people. And the same thing for what's going on with this Lizzo stuff, and just because her followers and stuff, at least from what I hear, they go hard for her and they support her a lot in all of her endeavors and stuff. And so when she's doing stuff like this, and like you saying, gaslighting people, it's like, look, I'm not body shaming anybody. To each his own, right? But um, who walks out of the house like that? I can see if it was an actual music video, it's like, oh, okay, because I only see bits and pieces. Nah, girl, you out here wide open at a party just like that.
I just,
Like, how does the sweating works? Because she was sweating.
oh, she was hot.
So
She
how
was
does the sweat?
hot. She had to be hot. She had to be
How does
hot.
the sitting down work? Like, girl, did you think this out? Like, what are you doing? But nah, hey, cat out, everything out. Just let it just, you know what I'm saying? And so the people chose her, apparently, right? And she's a reflection of the people. And clearly, there's a large constituency of people out there that um, that live in a denial bubble. Look, I get it that you do have to embrace who you are, you know, but embracing who you are is based on embracing who you are intrinsically. So, based on who you are, love who you are for what you were born as. You weren't born obese. You weren't born overweight. You know what I'm saying? If you were born, you know what I'm saying, and you got a lopsided head, all right, cool. Love yourself for your lopsided head. You know, if you were born and you got a limp when you walk, hey, love yourself. Even though you got a limp when you walk. I'm all for that. I'm a champion for that myself. But when it comes to stuff where it's just like, oh nah, I could lose weight, but love me for who I am. It's like, what is that?
I just don't think you're living in a real world when you do. Like that's just not. It's not. That's a fake world. You're
Especially
trying to
if,
manufacture. You're trying to create an alternate universe that doesn't exist.
well, especially when you confess later on that you're an emotional eater and you're eating because you feel a certain way. So why should I embrace that? Why would I embrace the part of you that you don't even like about yourself?
Man, so see, we live in a culture where we're trying to completely we live in a culture in which we're trying to completely deconstruct everything. We're trying to completely deconstruct every aspect,
Yeah.
like every aspect of existence from what it was to try and sort of reimagine it as what we would like it to be, right? So we're trying to deconstruct marriage and relationships to turn it into this new thing of women can do whatever they want, men can do whatever they want. We're trying to deconstruct relationships, sexuality, right? Into everybody can do what they want, be what they want, and we accept this. And we're trying to deconstruct standards of beauty to sort of create a lack of a standard of beauty. And Lizzo is a part of this movement of the active attempt to deconstruct standards of beauty. You know what I'm saying? So it's in her mind, the way she's processing this information is if Cardi B can wear a see-through dress and people compliment her on how she looks, I should be able to wear a see-through dress and people compliment me on how I look. But that's not real. Like people don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, listen, man. Like, I'm not trying. I don't want to make it seem as though I am. I'm not a body shamer or anything like that. But the reality is, an obese person wearing a see-through dress is not as visually appealing as a woman who's in shape who wears a see-through dress. That is the reality. So if your goal is to be on the same playing field as Cardi B,
Mhm.
and I use Cardi B as an example, but just put any other woman in that situation, you know what I'm saying, who's not of her body type, wearing that dress. If you want to feel the way those women feel when they wear those kinds of outfits, you need to stop trying to circumvent the system and just get in the gym and lose weight. Like, stop trying to reinvent the world as you imagine it. Like, you're not Thanos. You're trying to snap your fingers and destroy life as you know it and recreate the universe in your eyes the way you see it. It will never happen. And as long as you continue to try to do that, you're going to continue to become frustrated and get in your feelings and go on your IG and get mad at everybody for fat shaming you. Like, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what it is. And like, I agree. I agree with what you're saying, bro. Like, I think that, for her, when she gets so touched by a lot of this stuff, to me, it reeks of an insecurity. So you're seeking a particular kind of outcome based on your actions and your behavior, but your input isn't the input that you're providing isn't going to get you that outcome.
Right.
So at the point that you realize that, at what point do you stop and say, I need to change my input? Either change the input or live and stop caring about what people are saying.
Mm-hmm.
But if you keep doing this, but then you get emotional and get mad for people fat shaming you, then it reeks of an insecurity. It says you're seeking an output that you're not getting. So if you really care about getting that output, the only thing that you can really do is capitulate and build yourself into what you can build yourself into in order to get that output.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and listen, man, as you know, whether you like it or not, Lizzo, if you want people to stop, and this is your perception of fat shaming, because like I said, when I see people talking about Lizzo, the comments seem reasonable in my estimation. It's just, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're doing this to draw attention to yourself, and you're seeking the same result as women who don't have the same look as you.
Mm-hmm.
You're living in a fantasy world in which that doesn't happen. Guys would rather see Brittany Renner in a see-through dress than Lizzo in a see-through dress. You might not be happy that that's the reality, but that is the reality nevertheless. So if you want to get the same positive reaction that Brittany Renner would get for wearing that dress, I highly suggest that you get yourself a nutritionist and get in the gym 4 or 5 days a week. They tried to do this same thing with Adele. I don't know if you remember this, but Adele was before Liz. Adele was Lizzo before Lizzo. Adele was the poster child for body positivity. Look how great Adele is. She's a great singer. And look how big she is. Let's celebrate this. Look at how great that is. And for a while, Adele embraced it. Yeah, sure, I'll be the poster child for body positivity. But what kept happening? Her relationships kept failing. She was constantly unhappy personally. And so what did she end up doing? She lost weight. She looks way better than she did when she was heavy. And you know what happened? And do you know what happened? Like, she's a happier person now. And now the public doesn't like the fact that she lost weight. How does that work? Like, now that she said, I don't want to be the poster child for being overweight, and I no longer want to be the poster child for body positivity. Furthermore, I'm not even happy with my own self, because I think the best version of me is a version that is not obese and is not overweight. So I'm going to get into the gym and I'm going to lose this weight. She got into the gym and she lost that weight. She became happier, but now the people turned on her. So stop giving a shit about what these people say. Like I said all the time, stand on your own 2 feet. If you Lizzo and you love being overweight, stop caring about what they got to say. But if you care about what they got to say, then you need to get in the gym and lose weight, because that shit ain't never going to go nowhere. It's not. Whether you like it or not, it's not going to stop. Period. And Adele, by the way, would never in her heyday of being fat wear what Lizzo wears.
Yeah, like what
You
is
know what
that
I'm
in the
saying?
first
So,
place?
like Adele would never carry herself or conduct herself that way.
Right? Like nobody, and that's my whole point. Like, why did you? What do you think? What do you think was going to happen? And so, oh, you know, you just fat shaming how? And so, so it's just it's such a cop out. It's such a victim thing to do. Woe is me. The world's always out to get me. It's like, girl, you walked out of the house naked and went to a party naked. Like, what did you think you was gonna hear? I mean, even if Brittany Renner did it, people would have been looking, but they
Yeah.
still would have had words for her. Like, why are you doing this? You didn't think people were gonna take pictures of this? Like you're on a red carpet to a party, walking in butt booty naked, and so it's just like, nah, man, you can't. You're opening, like you said, you're opening yourself up to criticism. And I don't have a problem with big girls. I don't. I really don't. You know what I'm saying? Lizzo's not my type. You know what I'm saying? I don't like that construct. But still, nevertheless, you know, I don't discriminate. I really don't. So this is not a thing where it's like, oh, yeah, yeah. No, I don't mind, you know. But at some point, there has to be, okay, let's go to the gym. Yeah,
I just think that there's a lane. I just think that there's a lane, and just be graceful in your lane. There's level. Meek Mill made the song "Levels." There's levels to this. There's levels in life.
yeah, and
I,
ultimately, but
I don't. You know what I'm saying? Listen,
Mhm,
and there's levels to life.
mhm.
If I make $40,000 a year, I don't have access to the same women that a guy who makes $2 million a year does. It's called life. Deal with it. Either I play in my sandbox and focus my attention on the women whom I do have access to, or if it really matters that much to me, I'm gonna work as hard as I can to become a guy who makes $2 million a year. If it matters that much to me. But there's levels to all of this. Women who are overweight and women who are overweight, obese, whatever, can't do the same things that women who are in shape can do. It's called life. It's called life. But we spend so much time trying to deconstruct traditional ideals of appropriateness to the point where we want to just create a world of anarchy in which rules don't exist. And you can't operate that way. Like, we can't as a society. I'm sorry to all of the SJWs, all the left wing people, everybody who wants to tear everything down and just we live in a society where there's no rules and no constructs. You know what I'm saying? We want to have marriages where the women run the household and the men are barefoot, naked, and cooking, or you know what I'm saying? We just want to deconstruct everything, right? But a lot of this stuff worked for a reason. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is what life is. It's not about fairness. It's about what you can get for what you put out. If you are not happy with your output, you need to reevaluate the input. Period. And if you don't care to reevaluate the input, then stop acting like you care about what people's reaction to the output is. But stop trying to have it both ways, where you're trying to recreate this perfect universe where no one has anything to say about how you look. Like, that is the world we live in. In this world, your body type dictates that your appearance ought to be a certain kind of way. You can't change that. So Adele never dressed that way because she knows I'm going to operate in my sandbox. Now, what Adele did, to her credit, was she said, I don't want to operate in that sandbox anymore. I want to operate in a different sandbox. So I need to do what I need to do so that I can operate in that sandbox. And people turning on her just means that she was on to something, that she did the right thing. Rebel Wilson is another one. Rebel Wilson, she's the actress, the big chick. She was in those movies. The movies with the singers. I don't even remember the name of the movie, but she's one of these comedic actresses. She was overweight too, and that was a part of her charm as an actress. Part of her appeal was how overweight she was. And her the roles that she accepted in her movies played upon that. She was the comic relief. She was the girl that was getting She was the butt of jokes. She was the one always getting hit by trucks and falling over and, you know what I'm saying, landing in pools and stuff. That was her. That was who she was. And she was another one of these poster children for body positivity. And you know what I'm saying? If you look at her Instagram now, she got in the gym, she got a nutritionist, she lost tons of weight. She's happier as a person. But you got these SJWs out here who are mad because she's one less person who can sort of push this agenda of anarchy and no rules by suggesting that even if you weigh 300-400 pounds as a woman, you should be entitled to the same laurels in life that a woman who weighs 130 pounds and in shape does. And things just don't work that way. You know what I'm saying? I see you, Titanus. I see you on the chat. SJW is social justice warrior. So social justice warrior is a way that you characterize people who are automatically talking about how everything is racism and sexism and homophobia and transphobia and everybody's always fat shaming. Those are SJWs, social justice warriors, people who are always on the lookout to put these, you know, labels on stuff when it's not necessary. But I mean, that's just kind of my 2 cents on that one. Like, I get aggravated with these people who try to create the universe in their own eyes, and then when they are ineffective at doing so, everyone else is the problem. Mm-hmm. So it's not everybody who's telling you, yo, you need to chill. Ain't nobody trying to see all of that. You know, the problem is really with the rest of the world fat shaming you. And you know, to each their own. Like I said, if you really feel like you can do whatever you want, stop caring about whether people are fat shaming you. But if you keep crying on your Instagram and crying on your TikTok because you are so distraught and emotional because people are quote unquote fat shaming you, then how about you do what you need to do to no longer be fat shamed? How about we try that? Can we try that? Go and get yourself a trainer. You know what I'm saying? Go and work out at one of those posh Hollywood gyms that are closed off to the public. You know what I'm saying? Get you a good diet, eat right, work out 3 to 4 days a week. In about 6 to 8 months, you probably would have lost about 70, 80 pounds. And I'm willing to bet that when you wear that dress at that new weight, not as many people are going to fat shame you, quote unquote. So,
fair.
You know, that's pretty much all I got to say about that. You crybabies, man. Lizzo just has a toxic personality.
She does.
And you know, Lizzo kind of reminds me of Lizzo reminds me of Amber Rose, just a toxic individual. You know what I'm saying? Amber Rose is trying to reinvent the wheel. Amber Rose is trying to like reinvent the wheel and make being a whore fashionable and come up with things like slut walks and all of this kind of stuff and getting tattoos on her forehead and, you know, talking about how, you know, everybody should subscribe to her OnlyFans, but still respect her. And it's like, okay, fine. You're trying to reinvent the wheel and create a new universe. Like, you can't openly call yourself a whore, but then get mad at people who categorize you as a whore. It doesn't make sense. Like, if you're going to be proud of being a whore, then just accept people calling you a whore. But don't get sensitive at people who criticize you for being a whore. If you don't, then stop being a whore. If it means that much to you and the criticism is getting to you, stop being that. Mm-hmm. But you know, these people, man, these entertainers, man, and these insane people, they don't think with logic. They don't make sense, and they try to get other people on board with their nonsensicalness. And I'm not here for it. Mm-hmm. I'm not here for it. But you know what I'm saying? I'm done, and I know I got on the soapbox with that, bro.
You good.
But you had anything you wanted to add to that?
Nah, man. You know, you wrapped it up pretty good, bro. It's just, you know, again, like you said, the message for me, man, is more or less, like I said, like I don't have a problem with big girls, but at the same time, I do be worried about their health when they get older and later in life. And we're really getting in this age bracket where, you know, because when we was coming up, that's when like childhood obesity became a thing. And so it's really, not to say there weren't big women in the past, but it's just a lot more big people in general nowadays, and they're around our age, and they're getting up there. And so, it's cool at a certain point for me, when it comes to the weight, like I don't mind. But like I said, like down the line, it's like if you want to talk like long term and us like being together like that, it's like, all right, well, you know, we're gonna have to do something about this, because I don't know how long you can be around eating like this. You know what I'm saying? And so eventually, the diet does have to change. Working out does have to eventually be a thing, and it's just for their betterment and all together, for their health. Honestly, my main thing is the health thing. But when
Yeah.
they're in there and they're just like, nah, accept me for who I am. If it's a slow journey, let it be a slow journey. At least you're on a journey. But if it's just nah, respect me for who I am, pass the donuts. I don't respect that. I
Yeah,
don't
I feel
respect
you,
that.
man. What I find nowadays when it comes to this whole fat shaming thing is that, when women in particular, um, and furthermore, also, let me point out this double standard, okay? Because if a guy, like let's say a man were to show up to a party with like with a wife beater on, belly hanging all out, people would be raking him through the coals. Women would be talking about how he ain't, how he that women would be talking all women would be throwing so much dirt on him, talking about how he don't look good, about how he fat, this and that or whatever. And nobody's gonna say that man is being fat shamed. This is a dynamic that primarily only pertains to women. It's a double standard, and it's a fallacy. It's a social equivalency that doesn't exist. Most of the time when women get on their soapbox talking about fat shaming, they're not even referencing being fat shamed because of their health risks. They're purely talking about people's reaction to their aesthetic. That is what they are railing about. They're railing about their aesthetic, because I'm with you about the health thing. I'm with you. But their motivation for talking about fat shaming don't even got nothing to do with health. It's
Yeah,
got it's got to do purely with the aesthetic.
yeah,
So it's like, look, do something about your aesthetic. If you have that much of an issue with it, do something about it. Seriously.
hmm
And like, I mean, I can go on and on with this, because there's a racial element that goes along with this as well. I think that, with respect to different racial groups, you're more likely to see non-black women say, I am going to do the work independent. I am going to do the work to remove myself from this environment. So if I no longer want to be fat shamed, I'm going to just go ahead and lose the weight. As opposed to, it just seems to me as though whenever we talk about a lot of this body shaming stuff, for the most part, I seem to see mostly black women doing this thing where they don't go the Adele route and say, I'm just going to lose the weight. They say, no, you just have to think I'm as fine as everybody else, even though I don't want to lose the weight. But that's a whole nother rabbit hole that we can go down, that can, extend the conversation another 30 minutes. The point is, man, Lizzo, just get over yourself. Like, either lose the weight or stop caring what people say. But you're trying to have it both ways, and you just look like an irrational individual. I just never been a fan of hers. Like, she just has a toxic personality. She reminds me of Amber Rose, but Lizzo is to weight what Amber Rose is to like sexuality, in my opinion, in terms of just toxicity. I don't think that it's okay for women to follow Lizzo's lead. I think that it's the wrong path. But we're gonna go ahead and close out, man, because we've been on this stream for almost 2 hours, bro. So a lot of meat on that bone. I'm glad to see my girl Tight showed up to the stream. She was in the comments, so I certainly appreciate that. Need to have you back on for another video as well. Appreciate everybody who's supporting the channel. Always remember to support logical content. We surely appreciate it. You can find me as usual on Instagram at JVWins, JVWINS. And the Conscious Approach page is also on Instagram at ConApproach ConapProach. You can follow me on Facebook at Javis Ogden, JavisOgden. I'm also on Twitter at Javis Ogden as well, same spelling. Wherever you're watching this video, if you're watching it post talk on YouTube, hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. Eventually when I get around to uploading these on Facebook, which will hopefully be this weekend, hit the share button, like it, you know what I'm saying? But subscribe to the YouTube channel, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to grow the platform. These live streams are weekly, where we get into a lot of fun topics to talk about. All opinions are our own. We are not trying to suggest that anybody should think like us. We are just expressing how we view these various topics. So don't get into your feelings and take things personally. It is an opinion. You can disagree with me and call me crazy all you want. It's not going to bother me. I don't care like that. So it is what it is, man. But yeah, thanks to everybody for tuning in to another stream. We surely appreciate it, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And the name's Dogon SS. I'm on the Instagrams, all right, at Dogon _SS, and I'm also here on YouTube's. So go ahead and subscribe to me. All right, hit that bell for them notifications and stuff. All right, because I will start going live over there soon enough. All right, but just check out the content, relax and chill, man.
Yeah, for real. Mm-hmm. Please relax and chill, man. And please relax and chill.
Stay chill.
Yeah, just stay chill, man. And if you it's life in a lot of ways is simple, people, man. If you don't like being fat shamed, just get into the gym and lose weight. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you don't, and fat shaming again is a relative term. People ain't saying you are a horrible person because you're big. It's just people have preferences. So if you are unbothered by those preferences, do you? I encourage that firmly. But if you are somebody who is on the Lizzo wavelength and you're constantly on the lookout searching for the people who are fat shaming you, the only way to really alleviate that is if you just go ahead and get yourself in the gym and lose weight. You know what I'm saying? That's all I got to say about that. I just find that whole, I think that whole dynamic is humorous, man. But, we'll go ahead and close out another live stream in the books. Conscious Approach. We will see you all next Tuesday right here at 7:30. We definitely appreciate it. From myself, JV Wins, and Dogon SS. We'll see you next time. Until then, keep it G.